So today, we're diving into something that's a real cornerstone of modern diabetes care, long-acting insulin. It's kind of the unsung hero, the steady, reliable background player that makes daily control possible for millions. Let's get into how it basically puts blood sugar on cruise control. I mean, think about it. Imagine you're driving a car, but instead of a smooth ride, you're constantly slamming on the gas and then hitting the brakes. It'd be exhausting, right? Totally unpredictable. Well, for a lot of people, managing blood sugar can feel just like that. But what if? What if you could just set it and forget it? Put it on cruise control and just smooth out that entire ride. That's the amazing idea we're digging into. And this really shows you what we're talking about. On the one side, you've got the blood sugar roller coaster, these sharp peaks and valleys that are just a constant battle. The goal? It's to get to the other side, a steady, basal baseline. We want to transform that chaotic ride into a calm, predictable journey. And this isn't just a nice thought, it's a total game changer for managing diabetes. Okay, so to really get why this is such a big deal, we first have to understand the core problem. And that problem is that the body has a constant, 24/7 demand for insulin.
You see, even when you're not eating, like between meals and especially when you're sleeping, your liver is still doing its job, pushing a little glucose into your bloodstream. And to handle that, your body needs a small, continuous trickle of insulin all the time. This is what we call basal insulin. It's the absolute, non-negotiable foundation of blood sugar control.
So that brings us right to the solution. If the body needs this constant supply, how on earth do we deliver that? Well, the answer is long-acting insulin.
And here's the magic of it. Long-acting insulin is specifically engineered to be absorbed really, really slowly. The whole point isn't to give you a quick jolt of insulin to cover a meal. Nope. The goal is a gentle, steady, peakless release that perfectly mimics the body's own natural background insulin over a full day, sometimes even longer. And check this out. There are actually a few different kinds. You've probably heard of names like Lantus, Levemir, and Tresiba. They all do the same basic job, but they have slightly different personalities. Just look at the duration of action column. Glargine, or Lantus, lasts about 24 hours. That's your classic once-a-day insulin. But then you have degludec, or Tresiba, which can last for over 40 hours. I mean, think about the flexibility that gives a person in their daily life. That's huge. So how does it actually do this? How does it pull off that slow, steady release? Well, the science behind it is pretty darn clever. It's all about creating this tiny little reservoir right under your skin. Okay, so here's the journey. First, the insulin gets injected right under the skin. Now, because of how it's made, it immediately clumps together, and it forms what scientists call a depot. You can just think of it as a tiny little storage unit of insulin. This little depot doesn't dissolve all at once. Instead, it slowly, gradually breaks down, releasing a small, steady stream of insulin into the blood over the next 24 hours or more. That's the secret sauce right there. That's how it gets that long-lasting peakless action.
Okay, so that's the cool science. But what does this slow release thing actually mean for someone's day-to-day life? Honestly, it's a true game changer.
You know, one of the biggest fears with insulin is something called hypoglycemia. That's dangerously low blood sugar, and it's especially scary when it happens overnight. Older types of insulin had this noticeable peak in their action, which made that risk higher. But because these long-acting insulins are so flat, so peakless, they dramatically lower the risk of those frightening nighttime lows.
And the good news doesn't stop there. This steady action means much more predictable blood sugar control day in and day out. The fact that you usually just take it once a day makes life so much simpler. It frees people up. It's the absolute bedrock of therapy for anyone with type 1 diabetes, and it's very often the first insulin someone with type 2 will start on. It really is the anchor of modern treatment.
All right, so to get all of those amazing benefits we just talked about, it's absolutely crucial to use this powerful tool correctly. So let's quickly walk through the must-knows for using it safely and effectively. So, proper technique is totally non-negotiable. And here's a big one. You have to rotate where you inject. Using the same spot over and over can actually damage the tissue under your skin, and that messes with how the insulin gets absorbed. And little things, like priming a new pen before you use it, make a huge difference in getting a consistent, safe dose. And please, always remember, this is designed to go just under the skin, never ever into a muscle.
Now, what about side effects? Of course. The main thing you've got to be aware of is hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar, which is a risk with any insulin. Some people might see a little bit of weight gain, and reactions right at the injection site are pretty rare. So the key takeaway here is that with the right dose and good monitoring, These can all be managed really well.
And finally, let's talk about storage. Insulin is a sensitive molecule. The rules are simple, but they are so important. Unopened pens, they live in the fridge. But once you start using one, you can keep it at room temperature for about a month. And here's the most critical safety tip of all. Never use insulin that's been frozen or looks cloudy or weird. When in doubt, just throw it out.
You know, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Long-acting insulin isn't just another medicine. It's the anchor. It provides that solid 24-hour foundation that just smooths out that roller coaster of peaks and valleys, and it paves the way for a steadier, more predictable life with diabetes.
So long-acting insulin provides this incredible, steady baseline that has truly revolutionized care. But what it also does is set the stage for the next big question. How can technology and all the new therapies build on this amazing foundation to create truly personalized, real-time blood sugar control? That's the future we're heading towards. Thanks so much for joining us.